Hi everyone. I've been meaning to make this video for a little while because a lot of people have been asking about my homemade ukulele, which I built a couple months ago at a place called the Pacific Wood Lab here in Vancouver. It's kind of a long story, but a few years ago, my colleague who also plays the ukulele thought that I might be interested in taking a ukulele building course from their friend who was a ukulele maker in either Regina or Winnipeg or somewhere in the prairies. That maybe one of these years I would use my vacation and go over there for like a week and build this ukulele, which sounded absolutely up my alley. But after I looked into it, I was like, oh, maybe there's a more local ukulele maker I can do this with. That led me to find out about a local luthier named Meredith Coloma, who mainly does guitars. She has a guitar making business called Coloma Guitars, but she also did a ukulele making course as well. And that was a couple years ago, and then every year whenever it's kind of vacation time at work to submit your requests, I would kind of map out all my travel plans for the year, see how much time I had, and if it lined up with ukulele dates. And it never quite worked out until this year of all years, because we're not traveling anywhere. And I looked into it, and luckily they're still doing courses in person, kind of one-on-one, with small groups maybe, and you'd wear masks, and yeah, I was happy with the precautions that they were taking around COVID. So I took a week vacation and signed up for the ukulele course. Another thing I'll say, the course itself it's not cheap. It was about $2,400, which is like an entire semester of my master's degree, I think. Yeah, it includes all the material, it includes all the expertise and all the tools, and you get this kind of one-of-a-kind instrument that I'll always have, and the experience, which was amazing. So I'm gonna go through, let me move closer here, the ukulele and show you all the different kind of interesting features around its construction.
How's Jamie's uke looking? Can we show it off? Or is it still drying? We had a student in here who made a concert-sized walnut uke, and it came out really, really nice. So it's still drying. We put some Osmo oil on this. So Jamie came in for a 1 week class through Pacific Wood Lab. Look at that walnut. Isn't that nice?
The back is made, and the sides and the neck, they're all made of walnut. You get to choose which wood you wanted to use. They kind of gave you a selection, and I did a bunch of research, and it's kind of partially about looks and partially about I guess the cost of the wood and the look of the wood. There's all these different factors, but basically what you want for your back and your sides is a hardwood, and then the top is a softwood. So the top of this is made of spruce, and the rest, or most of the rest, is made out of walnut. The fretboard is made out of ebony, a black ebony, and I wanted it to be a dark colored wood, and yeah, to go with the kind of offset the bright spruce top. I guess part of the reason you have a hard back and then a soft top is to do with the science of the sound of the ukulele, from what I've been told. Like the sound travels into the sound hole when you pluck the strings, and then it bounces off the back, which has to be hard, and then it comes back, and you want the top, the soft top, to be flexible, and that changes how your ukulele sounds. You don't want it to be a stiff top, you want it to be a soft top. So interestingly, this back piece is, it looks like one piece, but it's actually two pieces, or it was one piece, and then we cut it in half and glued it back together. I didn't really understand why we did that, but I guess part of it is that where the seam is right up the middle, when you glue it back together, I guess it's kind of like when you break a bone. It kind of becomes stronger than it originally was without the glue. And it also helps make the kind of symmetry of the two sides. So you kind of got this funky V, upside down V pattern, which is very cool. So you glue it back together and you sand it down, and it's all smooth as if it was one piece. I first started playing the ukulele about a long time ago, 2009. And at that time, I think I bought a really cheap ukulele and I played it for a couple weeks, and then I thought it was too hard, and then I put it down. But then I started going regularly to the Vancouver Ukulele Circle, which is kind of like a drop-in group playing scenario, where this guy, Ralph, king of the ukulele, Shaw, would lead group play. He would play, and everyone out in the crowd was following along. There was a shared songbook, and it was good because it kind of forced you to plow through. It didn't matter if you were playing the right chords or the wrong chords, or you were out of tune, because there was like 100 ukulele players in there, and it all just blended together. So it really, I found it really powerful to play along with no judgment, without being judged, and eventually I just started picking up new chords, that really kind of got me on the road to becoming a decent ukulele player. So Ralph was one of the people that I have their name inscribed on the inside. You wouldn't be able to see it. Actually, I don't even remember if it's on the top or the bottom. I have his name written on there. I'll put a picture on there. Ralph, and then I have Jake Shimabukuro, who's one of the best ukulele players in the world, and is someone who, I think when I first saw his video of him playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps in Central Park in the days before YouTube, that was the first time I ever saw the ukulele as anything as more than just a toy instrument. Seeing Jake play, that was the first time I was like blown away by a ukulele player, and so he's a big inspiration, and I've seen him a few times. And then the other name that's in here is Amanda Palmer, who is also a ukulele aficionado and was another big influence in me picking up the ukulele. And she also has a great song, the Ukulele Anthem, which is a good kind of rallying call for ukulele players everywhere. This was kind of a tricky part. This is one piece, and then there's another piece that goes along the other side. So you got these two strips, which you had to bend gradually into this shape. It was one of the hardest things I thought to do, very time consuming, and you basically had this strip of wood, and you sprayed it with water, and then you had this metal heated metal post that you're pushing this piece of wood against, and you're slowly bending it to the shape that you want it to be. But it's very tricky because you can overbend it or underbend it, and to get like this exact curve, you have to be very precise of where you're bending it. If you push too hard, you can crack the wood, which I did. They gave me some test strips of wood to try to learn how to do it, and I definitely snapped it by being a little too impatient, but also you have to watch out for like burning your fingers. So that took a long time, and that's just to do like one side, and then you have to do it again with this side, and then later this black edge, you have to do it with that too. And I almost did not do that because when I asked about it, they said this black trim is just optional. It's really just cosmetic. And I didn't want to bend anymore, but I figured because I was putting so much time and money into this, I might as well make it look as good as I could. So I spent another few hours bending these pieces along the edge. The other cool part is the sound hole, which you can see is purple and blue. You get to choose which colors you wanted, and I said purple is my favorite color, and then we added a blue kind of just to make it pop a little. And that's kind of interesting because this is, you cut out the sound hole, but then you cut another groove that's like, it's not thick enough to go all the way through. So I mean, that's only a few millimeters, but you kind of make this trench around it that you can insert. It looks like plastic, but it's actually dyed some sort of wood composite. So all this colored bits are made out of wood, and they come in strips. There's actually 4 strips of purple, maybe like 2 strips of blue, and then another 4 strips of purple on the other side, and then also 2 black strips on both sides. And you put these all in, you fill it with glue, and then you sand it down to make it smooth. Throughout the whole process, through that, the top, the sides, you're just sanding all the time. So much sanding. By hand. And when you sand, you do it a whole bunch with one kind of grade of sandpaper. I forget the numbers, like 180 or something, and then after you think you're done, you go over it again with a finer sandpaper, like 220, and then you think you're done again, and then there's a third, even finer, so that it's very smooth, and gets rid of all the kind of bumps and grooves and weird discolorations and things. This was one piece, and it was a big block, and then you carve out this bit, so with like this rasp, this Japanese rasp, something like that, you're carving away and cutting it, and there was a technique to make it so that it becomes curved. So you take off little bits at a time, eventually making it curved. Same with kind of the edges here. So you got some choices in the shape of this, because I mean the top here, they're like, do you want it like a paddle or do you want it more like a crown? I just went for something pretty simple there. It could also just be flat. You can see that it comes across flat, and then it comes down at an angle. And so what happens is this was all one piece, you cut it, and then you flip this thing upside down, and then that somehow makes the perfect angle for a ukulele. Because you want it bent like that because it's pulling the strings down, and that's providing the tension on the strings. This is another part that was really hard, was this I don't know what you call this thing, the part where the heel connects to the top, or to the body, I guess. And you had to like sand, you put a piece of sandpaper in here and you're constantly putting it in, pulling it out, so that the heel takes on this curved shape. It's not very perfect there because I over sanded that corner. So it's not completely flush there. But I kind of like the imperfections are things that I'll always notice, but it's all part of the story of the ukulele. So I don't really mind. Again, cosmetic rather than anything to do with the sound. There was parts that, like, I did a lot of kind of grunt work, but then every now and then Meredith or another guy, sorry, Jabu's getting mischievous over here and ruining a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, so Meredith or another guy, Henry, who he helped me a lot too. He was kind of the ukulele specialist at the shop. They would tell me what to do and I do it, but every now and then they would take over if it was something kind of needing a little finer craftsmanship or something that would just take a long time for me to do on my own. So like this bridge, I think this is the bridge and the nut. Henry cut that out and built that, and Meredith put in the frets. I used a special saw to like cut these slots, but then Meredith and Henry helped hammer in the actual frets and cut off, like, because it's a piece of metal that gets hammered in, and then you clip off the ends so that it's on there, and then they were actually thicker, and so I actually had to go and sand down the frets, and that was another long time consuming task. Another thing I guess that's interesting is the nut and whatever this thing is up here. Those are both made out of cow's thigh bone, which is the traditional material used by instrument makers in guitars and, I don't know, violins and other things. They asked me if I was vegan, and if I didn't want cow bone in there, they can do it with a plastic substitute as well. But I'm no vegan, so I don't mind the cow bone in there. So after I built it, this is in beginning of September, I had to take it home for a week or two weeks, and just kind of hang it on my wall, play with it. They put on some strings on there that were kind of like starter strings. They weren't going to be the final permanent strings. And what happened in those 2 weeks is the wood would adjust or acclimate to the humidity of my home, and at that point the wood is like stretching, the strings are pulling down on the tops and there. Every time you picked it up it was out of tune, and that's part of the process. I mean, if anyone knows, when you put on new strings you're constantly having to tune while the strings themselves stretch out, but this was a combination of the strings stretching out and the wood settling down, so to speak. And then I went back a couple weeks later and they restrung it. They did some more. I think that's actually when we did the sanding of the frets. And they also replaced these tuning pegs, because originally they had some white ones that stuck out straight at the back. During that time I was away, they ordered in some black ones so that they would match up with my fretboard and the trim. This is a concert-sized ukulele, which is a bit bigger than a soprano. Although I own another concert ukulele, and this is smaller than that one, so it's kind of it's a cute size. And they also have tenor, which are bigger, and then baritone, which are really big, and apparently have a different tuning. And that's my ukulele. All right, so I thought I would play a little song for you to show how this sounds. This is a song from a musical I saw a few years ago in Stanley Park called The Drowsy Chaperone, and it became one of my favorite musicals. Love the music from it, and this is one from the end of the show called As We Stumble Along, which I think about a lot. As we stumble along on life's funny journey, as we stumble along into the blue, we look here and we look there, seeking answers anywhere, never sure of where to turn or what to do. Still we bumble our way through life's crazy labyrinth, never knowing left from right nor right from wrong. And the best that we can do is hope a bluebird will sing his song. As we stumble along, still we bumble our way through life's crazy labyrinth, barely knowing left from right nor right from wrong. And the best that we can do is hope a bluebird will sing his song. As we stumble along, as we stumble, bumble, fumble, tumble, as we stumble along. Cha cha cha. Thanks for watching.